Hello there, I'm Vieno and this is my 11th video tutorial on D3. In this video I want to show you a new component of SVG that we haven't looked at before, which is the path component. And paths are just as rectangles and circles. It's another element that SVG provides us with, but in contrast to rectangles and circles, paths can actually be used to create any shape whatsoever that we would like to have. So I wanted to begin by showing you what paths looks like in the actual source code. So if we inspect a visualization right here, we can see that it's actually made up of a number of different paths, and the path data is stored in the D attribute. So I won't go into what this actually means, but this long string, the value of the D attribute, this describes what the path looks like. So I think this first path describes this circle right here. But this is really complex, and it would take forever to write this manually. Thankfully, D3 provides us with a number of so-called path generators. So yeah, I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. But keep in mind that it is the D attribute that actually stores the path data. So if we head over to our text editor right here, let's say we have some data and we want to draw a line on our web page using that data. First of all, we need some data, so let's create a simple array. And since lines are basically just a number of x and y coordinates, we'll create a data array consisting of a number of objects, each having two properties, an x property and a y property. So let's give this some random numbers. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so we have our data, and let's also create a group element. So we'll say canvas append g, and let's give it a transform so that we're sure that we can actually see it. Okay, so the problem for us right now is that we have this data, but we need to translate it to that weird D attribute string that we saw earlier. What we need to do is, well, first we can bind our data to our path, and you'll recognize this. We'll just select all paths, of which there are none, and then we bind our data to that path. This will be a bit different, since we don't want one path for each data element in our array. We just want to pass this whole array and create a single line out of it. So the way we do that is simply to pass in the array the data as an array, like that. And then we proceed by using the enter method, and we append a path. Now, as we saw earlier, all the path data is stored in this D attribute. So we could just provide this with a long string of all the path data like this. It would be super long. But instead, we will refer to our path generator that D3 provides us with. So I'll create a variable called line in just a second that will translate our data to this path data string. So let's do that right now. Var line, and since in this case we want to create a line, we will use the line path generator, which is created by writing d3.svg.line. And this function has, or this method has two, what do you call them, accessor functions. First of all, the x function, which I guess represents each x coordinate of our line. So we'll make this a function that will return each of these x properties right here. So we'll return dx. And the same thing goes for the y accessor function. We'll return dy. So this line right here, so what we've done so far is we bound our data to our empty selection as usual, and then we created a path element for each data element. And since we provided the data as an array, we only have one element, so we create one path. Then we give all our data to this path generator, which translates this data right here into one of those strange path data strings that we saw earlier. So we also need to give this a, we don't want any fill, so we'll say fill none, but we'll give it a stroke, so we'll just get this thin line. No, stroke, attribute stroke, let's give it the color black, and we can also give it a stroke width of say 10. So let's save and hopefully this works. Nope. Okay, let's see here. Let me pause for a second. Okay, so this this can actually provide a good example of debugging in D3. So if we wanted to find out what's wrong, why our visualization is not showing, we can just head over to our browser and inspect and look at the console, and we get this error message: syntax error, unexpected token, left square bracket at line 17. So let's take a look at that, and at line 17 we immediately see that we don't have any equal sign. So let's save this again and refresh, and you can see that we have our line here, which is actually a path. So if we inspect this, you can see that this is a path, and we have this data path string, or whatever you want to call it, the D attribute, which essentially is our data but translated to a path string. So that is the very basics of creating paths in D3. I think, well, at least my plan is that in the next video we'll take a look at a slightly more complex path that we can create in D3, and that is, well, I won't tell you because I'm not entirely sure that I will speak about that, but yeah, I'll see you in the next video.